Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I'm excited because it looks like we have one more surprise pickup for the first quarter of 2024. It looks like a pre-order for the PS4 came in, and I can't wait to share with you what that is. I'll show that to you towards the end of the video. But as I'm going through my PlayStation 4 collection, I started to think, man, there are some amazing games that came out on the PlayStation 1 that I would love to see a sequel release on the PlayStation 4, if not the 5. Maybe not the 4, because I think we're getting ready to sunset the PlayStation 4. But I would love to see Sony re-release some of these. And I'm going to go through the 5 games that I think deserve a re-release either on the PS4 or the PS5 within the next year or so. So the first one I'm going to show you is this bad boy here. So we've got Jackie Chan, the Stunt Master. And this is a very cool platforming beat 'em up game that came out for the Sony PlayStation. I've had this copy for years, and there are a few things that I like about this game. I love that the scenery is interactive. It has Jackie Chan's actual voice in it, right? So Jackie Chan does all the voice acting in this game, which I think adds a super cool layer of novelty to it. Do I think we'll be able to get like Jackie Chan's voice in something now? No, but hey, listen, with the power of AI, we can get pretty close to it. So Jackie Chan Stuntmaster is definitely one that I would love to see. It does have a collectible aspect to it. There's different, I think, medallions or talismans or something like that you have to collect. You do have some pretty cool moves that you could do throughout the game. I do like the fact that, I think you can hang off ledges. Like I said, this is just a very, very cool one. And the graphics are not that bad, to be honest with you. For PlayStation 1, we get a lot of beat 'em ups, but the graphics for this beat 'em up aren't horrible. Now, don't get me wrong. Look at that. It's still PlayStation 1 graphics, right? That looks terrible compared to the graphics that we have today. But for what this was during its time, I think this is a great beat 'em up. And this is one that I would definitely love to see re-released on the PS4 or 5. Next up, we have this guy here. So Strider 2. So Strider 2 was very unique because we're all familiar with Strider that came out for the Sega Genesis. And Strider 2 was cool because in this, I think it was like a compilation, not a compilation, but I believe in this disc you get the first Strider, and then you get Strider 2. Yeah. So in my copy, if I just pop this bad boy open here. Yeah, so in that first disc, you get a copy of Strider, the original Strider, and then you get Strider 2. And Strider 2 is pretty much like a speed run type of game where you're running through, you're collecting those little like blue orbs to build up, I guess the length of your sword. You're running through, this is kind of like a 2.5D, like the background is in like a 2.5D format, but you still see Strider in this like 2D form. I think this one is really great. It's innovative. It blends 2D and 3D action very well. It's a hack and slasher, so it's a side-scrolling hack and slasher with some platforming elements to it. I really like this one. I would love to see them do something else with Strider. Even if they don't give us like another 2D Strider game, even if they made it 3D, I think doing something else with Strider, Capcom really should do something else with the Strider franchise, with the Strider character. And even if it winds up being like I could see a Strider game coming out like in the format of what Shinobi for the PS2 looked like, and it could just be the whole red scarf thing that has me. But I think that I'd love to see Sony do something with Strider. Give us a 3D story-based Strider game, where we take full use of his weapons and his powers and abilities. I think that would be great for us to see. So Strider 2 on the PS4 is something I am waiting for. I doubt they ever do it, but I think it would be great to see a Strider 3 on the PS4 or 5. Next up, this is one I really like. So Silent Bomber. So Silent Bomber is such an obscure game, right? So this is one from Bandai, and this is just a very, very different type of game. First off, it feels like an open world kind of game, but it does follow like a linear path, like a 3D linear path, so to speak. And this is kind of like Bomberman, but like in a 3D world. Obviously you work with bombs to destroy your enemies. The more like I think E-chips you get, the more bombs you're able to deploy. I think you can time them. You can also detonate them. You gain new skills. The boss battles are really sick in this one. And I just like how broad and like open this game is. It is somewhat of a run and gun type game, but it's a long one, 26 missions. I mean, you get your money's worth in Silent Bomber. And I think just the main character and the story of this, how original this is, this deserves a sequel. I would love to see Silent Bomber 2 with them making better use of the better graphics, you know, that you would get on consoles like the PS4 and 5. This is another one. Despite being God knows how many years old, this one came out in 1999. Geez, the same year as The Matrix. So despite this being, you know, almost 30 years old in a few years, in 5 years, it was 25 years old, graphics were not horrible. It's still PlayStation 1 graphics, but for PlayStation 1, the graphics on this game were not horrible. This is a really good game. If you've never played Silent Bomber, I definitely recommend trying it out. This is a good one. I would love to see a sequel. Next up, we have a little 2D game here. So Silhouette Mirage, a Working Designs classic here. This is kind of like another somewhat of a run and gunner, where, you know, you have to kind of basically, you operate from two colors. In order to kill the red enemies, you have to be in the red uniform. In order to take down the blue enemies, you got to be in the blue uniform. You've got some pretty cool powers. This is 2D glory. There weren't many games that came out on the PlayStation 2 that I could think of that had like really great 2D graphics. Adventures of Lomax is one. Symphony of the Night is one. Those are two great games. Punky Skunk is another one. Strider is another one, even though that incorporates 2D and 3D. But Silhouette Mirage is a really cool one. I like this one. I would love to see them do something else with this. This is not one that I would want to see take on like a 3D format, but if they came up with like a Silhouette Mirage 2 on the PS4, I'd be really interested. I get the vibe that if they were to do something like this, it would feel kind of like a Robbie Ribby or something like that. Maybe like a Gundamoniums, maybe something like that is the vibes that I would get. But it'd be interesting to see how this would look modern aged and for today. And then last but not least, we have Rising Zan, the Samurai Gunman. So whenever I see this game, Rising Zan, which I really like this game, it's exactly as it says, right? You're a cowboy with a samurai sword and you've got guns and you're going through town hacking and slashing. This one is pretty gruesome. There is some blood in this one. That's why it is rated M for mature. But I really do like this game. This is a hack and slasher with some you know, run and gun elements to it. I like those types of games. This is kind of like an adventure game. And I hate using the word open world when it comes to PlayStation 1, because there were really no open world PlayStation 1 games. They were all pretty linear. But every time I hold this game, I feel like the spiritual successor to Rising Zan came out on the PlayStation 2. And the spiritual successor would be this game right here, if I can get it out of my game case. Sorry, give me 1 second while I pull it out here. But here we go. So every time I think of Rising Zan, I always think of Samurai Western. Both of these games kind of give you the same vibes. Samurai Western is sick. Another sick one. So many moves, so many unlockables, so many different characters that you face off against. So that's the kind of vibes I get. And I feel like if they were to kind of do some type of re-release of Rising Zan, like a Rising Zan 2, it would somehow feel like a Samurai Western. But these are 5 PlayStation 1 games that I would love to see re-released on the PlayStation 4 or 5. I think that the content would be great. You know, these were original games, original titles. These, you know, we haven't seen any remakes or remasters of games like this, and we always see the same games re-released and remastered. I wish they would dig back into some of these original IPs and kind of do something with them, because these games were all great ideas. Now, speaking of the PlayStation 4, I did have a really cool pre-order come in today, and I'm not going to waste any more time. I'll just show you what it is. Bam. So Danmaku Unlimited 3. I am so psyched to have this shooter back in my collection. I actually had this on the Nintendo Switch and wound up selling it. And I'm not gonna lie, when I sold it, I was like, it's a bummer. So once I saw Limited Run was actually releasing it for the PlayStation 4, I said I got to get this back. And so for $29.99, was able to get Danmaku Unlimited 3 back into the collection. Definitely gonna kind of, I think these are the types of games that I'm gonna collect on the PlayStation 4. I think I'm gonna stay away from like the big broad open world games, the Elden Rings, the Final Fantasies, like those things. I think I'm gonna stick to more, low key, smaller scale, kind of run and gun shooters, shoot 'em ups. That's what I'm going for on the PlayStation 4. But let me know what you think. Let me know if any of these tickle your fancy. If you would like to see any of these re-released on the PlayStation 4. I'm the Y2K Collector. Hopefully you're having a great Thursday. I will see you this weekend. Take it easy.